Hey guys, tonight we begin with something that's been romanticized in every cowboy movie ever made. Getting drunk at a Wild West saloon. You've seen it. Swinging doors, piano music, whiskey flowing like water, and rugged men laughing over cards. Sounds like a good time, right? Well, it was. Sometimes. Other times it was a recipe for violence, poverty, and waking up in a horse trough with no memory of how you got there. The saloon was the beating heart of frontier towns, offering everything from companionship to catastrophe, often in the same night. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying this journey through history. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing who's tuning in from around the world. Now let's step back into the dust and whiskey-soaked chaos of a Wild West saloon and see what getting drunk really looked like. You wake up in your tent, or if you're slightly more established, a cramped room in a boarding house that smells like sweat, tobacco, and yesterday's regrets. The sun's already beating down, turning your shelter into a canvas oven. Your mouth tastes like you've been chewing on a saddle, and your body aches from another day of back-breaking work. Maybe you've been panning for gold in icy water until your hands went numb. Maybe you've been hauling lumber, breaking horses, or digging ditches. Either way, you're exhausted, sore, and desperately in need of something to take the edge off. There's no running water in your tent, no shower, no coffee maker brewing a fresh pot. You splash some water on your face from a tin basin, assuming you remembered to fill it yesterday, and pull on the same clothes you've been wearing all week. They're stiff with dried sweat and dust, but so is everyone else's. The shirt you're wearing used to be white. Now it's a shade of brown-grey that would make a laundromat weep. You step outside into the main street, and immediately the dust hits you. It's everywhere. In your eyes, your throat, coating your boots within seconds. The street is a mix of dirt, horse manure, and the occasional puddle of something you don't want to identify. Wooden buildings line both sides, false-fronted and hastily constructed, like a stage set that might blow over in a strong wind. The town's alive with noise, hammers pounding as someone builds yet another shop, horses snorting and stamping, a dog barking at nothing, someone shouting about the price of flour, and underneath it all, the distant sound of a piano, tinny, slightly out of tune, but unmistakable. That's the saloon. And that's where you're headed. Not because you're an alcoholic, but because the saloon is the only place in this godforsaken town where you can sit down, relax, and feel like a human being instead of a beast of burden. It's the town's community center, entertainment venue, and therapy office, all rolled into one whiskey-soaked establishment. You walk down the street, dodging a wagon and stepping over questionable puddles. Other men are headed the same direction. Miners with dust-caked faces, cowboys with sun-scorched skin, gamblers in clothes slightly less filthy than everyone else's. Some nod, some don't. Out here, you don't need to know someone's name to recognize a fellow survivor. The saloon sits at the corner, 2 stories tall with a balcony where the soiled doves sometimes stand, calling down to passers-by. The building's seen better days, paint peeling, wood warped, one window cracked like a lightning bolt. But it's standing, and that's more than you can say for half the structures in town. You push through the swinging doors, yes, they actually had those, and step inside. The first thing that hits you is the smell. A fragrant symphony of stale beer soaking into floorboards, tobacco smoke thick enough to chew, unwashed bodies marinating in their own sweat, the faint sweetness of spilled whiskey, wet wood, leather, gun oil, horses, because someone definitely rode theirs too close to the door. And if you're unlucky, the sharp tang of vomit from last night's festivities that the sawdust's trying to absorb. It's not pleasant, but it's also not your tent. And right now, that makes it paradise. The saloon's interior is exactly what you'd expect, and nothing like the movies. There's a long wooden bar running down one side, scarred and stained from years of drinks, elbows, and the occasional brawl. Behind it, shelves lined with bottles, some labelled, most not. The bartender's there, a thick-armed man with a moustache that could house a family of sparrows and eyes that have seen every variation of human stupidity alcohol can produce. He's wiping down the bar with a rag that's definitely dirtier than the surface. Tables are scattered around the room, occupied by men playing cards, eating questionable stew, or just staring into their drinks like they contain life's answers. In the corner, a piano player pecks away at something vaguely recognizable. He's missing 2 fingers on his left hand, lost in a mining accident, or a bar fight, or maybe he was born that way. Nobody asks. The lighting's dim. A few oil lamps hang from the ceiling, and sunlight struggles through dusty windows. It gives the whole place a hazy, dreamlike quality, which is probably for the best, because in bright light, you'd see just how filthy everything really is. But here's the thing. Despite the smell, the grime, the questionable hygiene, the saloon feels welcoming. Not because it's clean or comfortable, but because it's alive. There's laughter here, conversation, music, human connection in a place where loneliness can kill you faster than a bullet. You make your way to the bar, boots sticking slightly to the floor. The bartender looks up. Whiskey? Yeah. He doesn't ask your name. Doesn't need to. You're just another face, another pair of hands that'll slap down a coin for liquid courage. He pours your drink, a generous shot of amber liquid that looks vaguely poisonous, and slides it across the bar. You pick it up, and immediately you notice it's not in a clean glass. There are fingerprints on it, maybe a lipstick smear. The glass itself is thick, cheap, and has probably been washed in a bucket of water that hasn't been changed since Tuesday. But you don't care. You're thirsty, and you're tired, and this whiskey cost you $1.25, roughly half a day's wages, so you're drinking it. You take your first sip. It burns. Oh, it burns. This isn't smooth aged bourbon with notes of vanilla and oak. This is frontier rotgut, probably distilled in someone's barn from corn, rye, or whatever grain was cheapest. It tastes like turpentine mixed with regret, and it goes down like swallowing a lit match. Your eyes water. Your throat protests. Somewhere deep in your chest, your lungs consider a formal complaint. But then, the warmth hits. It spreads through your chest, down into your stomach, out to your limbs. The ache in your back from 12 hours of labor starts to fade. The tension in your shoulders loosens. The constant anxiety about whether you'll strike gold, get robbed, or die of dysentery begins to quiet down. You take another sip. This one goes down easier. Or maybe your throat's just given up. Either way, you're drinking. You're not alone at the bar. To your left, a grizzled miner's nursing his second drink, staring at nothing. To your right, a cowboy, maybe 20 years old, maybe 40, hard to tell with all the sun damage, is trying to convince the bartender to extend him credit. "I'll pay you back Friday," he says. "You said that last Friday," the bartender replies, unmoved. "This time I mean it. This time you can pay now or get out." The cowboy sighs, drops a few coins on the bar, and gets his drink. You make eye contact for half a second, a mutual acknowledgement of the universal struggle, and then both of you return to your whiskey. The beauty of the saloon is this. Nobody cares who you are. You could be running from the law, running from a bad marriage, or running from yourself. Doesn't matter. As long as you've got money for a drink, and you're not actively stabbing anyone, you're welcome. You order a second whiskey. This one's easier. The bartender pours it without comment, and you sip it slower this time, letting the warmth settle in. Around you, the saloon's getting busier. More men filtering in after their shifts. The piano player switches to something vaguely upbeat. Someone laughs, a big, loud belly laugh that cuts through the noise and makes a few people smile despite themselves. And here's the thing. This moment, right now, is genuinely good. You're not thinking about tomorrow's work. You're not worrying about your failing claim or your dwindling savings. You're just here, in this moment, with a drink in your hand and the weight of the world temporarily lifted. Is it healthy? No. Is it solving your problems? Absolutely not. But for the first time all week, you feel human. You feel like you're part of something, even if that something is just a room full of strangers united by exhaustion and alcohol. By your third drink, things are getting pleasantly hazy. The edges of the room have softened. The piano music sounds better. That joke the guy next to you just told? Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. You're laughing. He's laughing. The bartender's shaking his head, but he's smiling too. This is the good part. The part where the whiskey's doing exactly what you wanted it to do. Dulling the pain, brightening the mood, making the frontier. Feel less like a hostile wasteland, and more like an adventure you're all on together. You strike up a conversation with the cowboy next to you. Turns out he's from Texas, been driving cattle for 3 years, and has opinions about everything from the best way to break a horse to why the railroad's going to ruin the West. You don't agree with half of what he's saying, but you're listening, nodding, contributing your own stories about that time you nearly got trampled, or that other time you found a snake in your boot. Someone buys a round for the table, then someone else does. The drinks keep coming, and you keep drinking them because that's what you do. Refusing a drink is refusing friendship, and out here, friendship might be the only thing keeping you alive. The saloon girl, one of the women who works here, serving drinks and entertaining customers, stops by your table. She's wearing a dress that's seen better days. Her hair's pinned up in a style that was probably fashionable back east 5 years ago, and her smile is practiced, but not unkind. You boys need anything else? Someone orders another round. She brings it, and someone makes a joke that's mildly inappropriate, but not outright offensive. She laughs, genuine or not, and moves on. Her job is harder than yours, and you know it, so you tip her a little extra. She nods her thanks and disappears into the crowd. You're 4 drinks in now, maybe 5. You've lost count. The room's spinning just slightly, but in a fun way. Everything's louder, brighter, more intense. You're telling stories you swore you'd never repeat, laughing at jokes that aren't that funny, and feeling like you've known these strangers your whole life. This is the peak. This is the moment every cowboy, miner, and drifter comes to the saloon for. The moment when the whiskey's hit just right, when the company's good, when the world outside those swinging doors doesn't exist. Someone suggests a card game, poker. You're not great at poker, but you're drunk enough to think you are. You sit down, throw in your ante, and pick up your cards. They're bent, stained, and missing the 3 of clubs, but nobody cares. This isn't about the cards. It's about the game, the conversation, the ritual of it all. You win a hand, then you lose 2. You're down $1, but it doesn't matter because you're having fun. Real, genuine fun. The kind you haven't had since you left civilization and came to this dust-blasted corner of nowhere looking for gold, glory, or just a fresh start. The piano player's really going now, banging out a tune that half the room knows the words to. Someone starts singing, badly, drunkenly, but enthusiastically, and soon half the saloon's joining in. You don't know all the words, but you're singing anyway, because why not? When's the next time you'll get to sing? This right here is why the saloon mattered. It wasn't just about getting drunk. It was about community, about finding joy in a joyless place, about reminding yourself that you're still alive, still capable of laughter, still human, despite everything trying to grind you down. The night wears on, and the atmosphere starts to shift. Not dramatically, but noticeably. The crowd's getting rougher. The laughter's getting louder, more aggressive. You're watching a transformation happen in real time. Good-natured drinking slowly morphing into something with sharper edges. You're witnessing the saloon's dual nature now. On one hand, there's still music, still camaraderie. Men are sharing drinks, telling stories, bonding over shared hardships. A group in the corner is having a genuine good time, their laughter infectious and pure. Someone just bought a round for strangers because he finally struck a decent vein of silver and wants to celebrate with anyone willing to raise a glass. But on the other hand, tensions are building. A card game at the far table is getting heated. Voices are rising. Someone just accused someone else of cheating. Might be true, might not be. But it's the accusation that matters. Two men are staring each other down, hands moving slowly toward their belts where guns rest. The whole room feels it, that electric charge in the air right before lightning strikes. The bartender's watching like a hawk, one hand disappearing below the bar where he keeps his peacemaker, a club, a shotgun, something designed to end disputes quickly. He's seen this dance 1,000 times. He knows exactly how it ends. You're drunk enough now that your judgment's impaired. Someone jostles you on the way to the bar, probably an accident, but in your current state it feels deliberate. You turn, ready to say something, your whiskey-soaked brain telling you this is an insult that requires a response. Your drinking buddy grabs your arm. "Not worth it," he mutters. He's right. The guy who bumped you is twice your size and probably armed, but the whiskey says fight. The whiskey says honor. For a tense moment, it could go either way. Fortunately, the moment passes. The guy's already gone, completely unaware of the confrontation that almost happened. But then, because there's always a but then, things escalate. You're 6 drinks in, maybe 7. The fun haze has become a fog. Your words are slurring together. Your coordination's shot. You try to stand to get another drink and nearly knock over your chair. The room's much more crowded now. The after-work crowd has given way to the serious drinkers, the professional gamblers, the men looking for trouble. The conversations have gotten aggressive, fueled by alcohol and grievances that seem earth-shatteringly important when you're drunk. The argument at the card table reaches a breaking point. Chairs scrape back violently. Both men are standing now, facing each other, and you can see it in their eyes. That moment of decision. Draw or walk away. Kill or be killed. Over what? A disputed hand? A $5 pot? An imagined slight? The whole saloon freezes. Even the piano player stops, his hands hovering over the keys. Everyone's calculating their distance to the door, to cover, to safety. The bartender moves fast, coming around the bar with a shotgun. "Take it outside or shut it down," he roars. For 5 eternal seconds, it could go either way. The two men stare each other down, hands near guns, pride warring with survival instinct. Then one of them spits on the floor and walks out. The other sits back down, victorious in a fight that didn't happen. The tension breaks like a fever. The piano starts up again. Conversation resumes. Everyone goes back to drinking like nothing happened, like they didn't just witness 2 men nearly kill each other, but you felt it. That moment when the fun atmosphere could have turned into blood on the sawdust. When someone's wife could have become a widow over a card game. This is the reality of saloon drinking. The violence isn't constant, but it's always possible. The good times can turn bad in a heartbeat, and alcohol is the accelerant that makes everything burn faster and hotter. You keep drinking because stopping now seems impossible. The faces around you blur together. You're pretty sure you just told the same story twice to the same person. Your money's running low. You check your pockets and find a few coins left. Maybe enough for one more drink. Definitely not enough for food tomorrow. You order it anyway. You're slumped at the bar now, head resting on your arms. The room won't stop spinning even with your eyes closed. The sounds wash over you. Laughter, shouting, music, breaking glass, all blending into meaningless noise. The bartender's giving you looks, the kind that say, you're about to get thrown out. You try to sit up, to prove you're fine, but the movement makes your stomach lurch. The room tilts. Everything you've drunk tonight suddenly wants out. You make it outside just in time, stumbling through the swinging doors and into the street where you vomit spectacularly into the dust. It's not dignified. You're on your hands and knees in a street that smells like horse manure, emptying your stomach while people walk past, either ignoring you or laughing. But at least you didn't do it on the saloon floor. Small victories. You're standing there, bent over, mouth tasting like acid and failure, when someone pats you on the back. Happens to the best of us, a voice says. You look up. It's one of the guys from the card game. He's barely more sober than you are. You good? He asks. Yeah, you lie. Come on, let's get you somewhere to sleep it off. And here's another side of the saloon culture. The unexpected kindness. Yes, men fought here. Yes, people got robbed and cheated, but there was also a code. You looked out for your drinking companions. You didn't let a man pass out in the street where he'd get rolled or trampled or freeze to death. Your new friend, you never got his name, walks you back toward your tent, both of you stumbling through the dark streets. He leaves you at your doorway, makes sure you're inside, and disappears back into the night. You collapse onto your bedroll, still fully clothed, boots still on. The tent's spinning. Your head's pounding already. You're going to feel like death tomorrow. But you also feel something. Not quite happy, not quite satisfied, but less alone than you did this morning. For a few hours, you were part of something. You laughed, shared stories, felt connected. Was it worth it? Ask yourself that question tomorrow. But tonight, as consciousness fades, the answer feels like yes. You wake up to sunlight stabbing through the canvas and a headache that feels like someone's driving railroad spikes through your skull. Your mouth tastes like something died in it. Your body aches worse than before. Now you've got the labor pains and the hangover. You're broke, completely broke. You spent everything you had on whiskey and you've got nothing to show for it except hazy memories and a desperate need for water. You crawl outside, find the water barrel, and drink until you think you might vomit again. You don't. Small victories. As you stand there, squinting against the painful brightness, you think about last night. Was it worth it? The honest answer is complicated. Yes, because for a few hours you forgot about the hardship, the loneliness, the fear. You laughed. Real, genuine laughter. You connected with people. You felt alive in a way that's hard to feel when every day is just work and survival. No, because you're now hungover, broke, and facing another day of backbreaking work with even less money than before. The problems you drank to forget are still there. Only now you've got a headache too. But you'll probably do it again. Next week, or the week after. Because the saloon wasn't just about the alcohol. It was about the only escape available in a world that offered precious few of them. The day drags on. You work through the hangover because you don't have a choice. Every swing of the pickaxe sends shockwaves through your skull. But you survive, because that's what you do out here. By evening, you're standing outside your tent again, watching the sunset. You can hear the distant sound of the piano starting up. The saloon's waking up for another night. You check your pockets. You've got nothing. Not even enough for one drink. Part of you is relieved. Maybe tonight you'll save money, rest, prepare for tomorrow. But part of you is already planning. In a few days, when you get paid, you'll go back. Because despite everything, the cost, the hangover, the risks, the saloon offered something irreplaceable. It offered a place to be human. So, what was getting drunk at a Wild West saloon really like? It was a mixed bag of genuine joy and genuine misery, often in the same evening. It was community and violence, laughter and regret, connection and exploitation, all happening under one smoky roof. The saloon was the beating heart of frontier towns because it offered something essential, a place to be human, to celebrate small victories, mourn losses, find companionship, and temporarily forget that you were living on the edge of civilization, where disease, violence, or bad luck could end you at any moment. It wasn't all bad. Despite the violence, the exploitation, the hangovers, there was real joy there. Real friendship, even if it only lasted one night. Real laughter, even if it was fueled by alcohol. Real community, even if it was built on shared misery. Men who had nothing else to look forward to could look forward to Saturday night at the saloon, could look forward to singing, playing cards, telling stories, being someone other than just another nameless worker dying slowly in the dust. For a few hours they could be funny, charming, interesting. They could be the hero of their own story, even if that story ended with them passed out in the street. But it wasn't all good either. The saloon could be dangerous. Bartenders watered down whiskey and charged full price. Card games were rigged. Pickpockets worked the crowd. Fights broke out regularly, and people died over nothing. Over insults, over cards, over whiskey-fueled rage that faded the next morning, but left bodies in the street. Men drank away their earnings, their hopes, their futures. They stumbled home, broke and hungover, having spent their week's wages on a few hours of forgetting. Some never made it home at all. Some died in bar fights. Some passed out in alleys and froze. Some drank themselves to death slowly. The saloon was freedom and trap, salvation and destruction, community center and den of vice. It was all of those things at once, because life in the Wild West was complicated, and people are complicated, and sometimes the only way to survive was to embrace the contradictions. The good parts were genuinely good. The camaraderie was real. When you walked into that saloon after a brutal day, and someone you barely knew bought you a drink and asked how you were doing, that mattered. When the whole room sang together, off-key and ridiculous, that moment of unity was precious. When you won a hand of poker and everyone at the table cheered for you, strangers celebrating your small victory, that felt good. The laughter was real. The friendship was real, even if it was temporary. The sense of belonging, of being part of something larger than yourself, that was real too. In a world where you could die alone in a collapsed mine shaft and nobody would find you for weeks, knowing there was a place where people would notice your absence meant something. But the bad parts were really bad. The violence was real. Men died over nothing. A misheard comment, a disputed poker hand, a woman who smiled at the wrong person. The exploitation was real. Saloon owners got rich while miners stayed poor, drinking away their wages every Saturday night in a cycle they couldn't break. The hangovers were brutal. The poverty was crushing. The realization that you'd just spent your food money on whiskey, that was a special kind of despair. And for some men, the saloon became a trap they couldn't escape, an addiction that killed them as surely as any bullet. Was it healthy? No. Was it safe? Definitely not. Did people drink too much, fight too often, and wake up with regrets? Absolutely. But in a world with no movies, no internet, no easy entertainment, no therapy, and damn little comfort, the saloon provided something irreplaceable. It was where you went to feel less alone, where you went to prove you were still alive, where you went to find, even if just for a night, a sense of belonging in a place that didn't care whether you lived or died. The whiskey was terrible. The company was questionable. The consequences were often severe. But for the men and women of the Wild West, the saloon was where life happened. The good, the bad, and the extremely drunk. It was where dreams were born over optimistic toasts and died in puddles of vomit, where friendships formed in an evening and dissolved by morning, where lonely men found connection and desperate men found trouble, where the piano never quite played in tune, but played every night anyway, because music mattered, community mattered, and having a place to go was enough. So tonight, when you pour yourself a drink in the comfort of your clean home, with your reliable plumbing and your lack of imminent gunfight danger, maybe raise a glass to those dusty, desperate souls who found their joy in smoky rooms that smelled like horse and hope. They drank to forget. They drank to remember. They drank to connect with other humans in a place where connection was scarce and precious. They drank because sometimes, in the Wild West, that was the only way to survive another day with your sanity intact. And somewhere in the dust and whiskey-soaked floorboards of a long-abandoned saloon, their stories remain. Stories of laughter and violence, of friendship and betrayal, of joy found in unlikely places, and sorrow drowned in cheap whiskey. Stories of people who were trying, against incredible odds, to find meaning and connection in a world that offered neither easily. They weren't heroes. They weren't villains. They were just people, doing what people do, looking for somewhere to belong, even if that somewhere was a filthy saloon at the edge of nowhere. And that, more than anything, is what getting drunk at a Wild West saloon was really like. Messy, complicated, dangerous, and deeply, fundamentally human.